My fellow Ripplers, this is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. Welcome to our show. It's for you and about you. Those of you guys that work so hard for your money and you want your money to start working harder for you now. You want that freedom, cash flow, and prosperity today, not in bazillion years from now, but right now, so you can live that life that you love with those that you love. But most importantly, guys, it's not just about getting rich. It's about living a rich life, because as you're blessed financially, you have a greater ability to create more impact and really blessings in the lives of others. And guys, I appreciate you allowing me to be able to create that blessing in your lives. Thank you again for blessing my life in the way that you allow me to have a platform here where you guys are binging and sharing and allowing me to be able to share with you with the things I've learned over the years, as well as many of our guests. As a reminder, if you haven't done so already, go to our Facebook page, go check out the Money Ripplers group. We invite all of you guys, anybody who considers yourself a Rippler, go to that group. It's an awesome place where we can actually talk and interact and share things as well. So be sure to go check that out.
Chris Miles was able to retire twice by the time he was 39 years old, but he's not content to just enjoy his own financial freedom and peace of mind. Chris wants you to have your own ripple effect so you can live free today. He's not the financial advisor you expected. He's the anti-financial advisor you deserve. He's jumping behind the mic right now, ready to make waves. Here's Chris Miles.
So I got a great guest for us today, right? So, this is a guest that I've actually been working with for more than a decade. This might be one of my oldest clients, that I'm still currently working with, which is so cool to have that experience. I have one other client like that as well, but Jared and Selena both live out in Northeastern Nevada. They're ranchers out there, been married for 25 years and the parents of 9 children. So if you thought it was crazy, I had 8, and between a blended family, they've got 9. So they've got me beat big time. Last year, they actually welcomed their first granddaughter to the family too, by the way. They're 3rd generation ranchers managing the operation of Jared's grandfather and father built there in Nevada. He's a lifelong learner and been applying and teaching principles of holistic ranch management. He's also mentored many young people seeking to get a start in agriculture. Some have even gone on to purchase, lease, and manage their own ranches. So the Sorensens have raised and market grass-fed beef. They teach on site and virtual classes and offer internships on the ranch. He even published a book last year. And you can actually check out their website, rubymountainfoods.com, because if you're looking for great grass-fed foods and actually really, truly organic stuff, you should definitely check that out. So Jared, welcome to our show.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Thanks for that introduction.
Yeah,
pleasure to be on the show with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was just, joking with you when we were off the air. It's like, man, springtime looks great, even though we're recording this in the dead of winter,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You have to have pictures to remember, right? So
that's right. Just pictures to warm up by, when it's cold on those cold, dark days. So, well, great. Well, fill us in on the gaps a little bit more. Like, tell us more about how you were raised. I mean, obviously you're a rancher, but tell us about kind of like your money story and for you and Selena and how you are to where you are today.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. So as you mentioned, we're 3rd generation ranchers. We grew up with definitely the mindset that you work hard for your money. Mm-hmm. That whole biblical principle, by the sweat of your brow. Right. And so that's good. That's good. It also is a little bit challenging. And I'll talk a little bit about, the challenge of breaking that mindset and coming up with, new paradigms that actually serve you. So you and I met, well, let me back up even before we met. In the early 2000s, I read some of Robert Kiyosaki's works, the Rich Dad books. And I thought, dang, this really resonates with me. I like the idea of having passive income, of having assets that work for you. And so as much as I got excited about it, it was like I never really did anything because I didn't have anybody to show me the way or hold my hand. Mm-hmm. I remember reading another book by a gal, and I even looked her up and I called her and I says, hey, will you mentor me? She says, no, you don't need a mentor. I'm like, what? I'm asking you, please. You have things figured out. You've gone down the road a little farther than I have. Teach me what you know. And she's like, no, it's all in the book. And I was a little put out, right? Because I thought maybe, that's what people needed to do. They had things figured out, and I believed in that mentor principle. Well, in about 2010, our business transitioned a little bit. We sold part of the ranch, part of my dad's estate, and I continued managing the rest of the ranch. I was in my, early 30s then, and I came across a financial program, and I thought, okay, this is it. It was a big investment, and so I invested, and I thought, okay, I'm going to find the answers here in this program. And they taught me more about passive investing. They taught me about, tapping into your life's mission and your sole purpose. And I thought, this is great. Okay, I really am passionate about teaching. I love ranching, but I want to teach. So I opened a business. I hired a website designer, got a website URL, opened a business. I went and took training courses on how to teach and how to mentor. And I just thought, I'm doing what God wants me to do, and it's just going to work.
Yeah.
The phone never rang and nobody showed up. And I'm like, what is wrong with this picture? This isn't, I knew it was what I was supposed to be doing, right? It was what I was passionate about. But that started kind of about a decade long of really pretty severe financial struggle for us.
Yeah.
Because we'd just come out of a business model that had worked for my dad and grandpa for a long time. We transitioned, and I realized, when I started that business, I hired a manager for the ranch, and I thought, okay, I'm still going to be the owner. I'm going to adopt this what's the word? The mindset of an owner is what I was looking for. And so I hired this manager. And as we got down the road a little ways, I realized that the 2% that we were off in our philosophies over a couple of years created a lot of tension. And so ultimately, we were deeper in debt, and I just really had to pull back. I said, okay, now's not the right time to teach. I closed our consulting, teaching, mentoring business. I went from 3 employees down to just me and my family running the ranch. We restructured things. And so in the matter of just a couple of years, it seems like it collapsed, but it was actually kind of a time of rebuilding.
Yeah.
So over the last decade, this is one of the girls in our family here. Over the last decade, it has been just a truly learning experience. And I've come to appreciate all of the experience, the good, the bad, the pain, the ugly, and also appreciate those who have gone before and have figured some things out, and those who are really willing to teach. So that's a little bit of the backstory, and kind of gets us to, to the point that I guess when you're humble enough, you're willing to learn, and you'll start to figure things out. Right.
That's right. That's true. When students ready to teach our peers, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah. And it's been interesting just kind of watching that evolution in the process, because we talked about various ways, like, because obviously being a rancher, one thing I think a lot of people don't realize, that one of your biggest expenses is not just management of the ranch, but it's also just dealing with the taxes. I mean, remind me, how many acres do you have again?
So we own about 12,000 acres. We lease an additional 12,000. So
that's like a little mini city. I mean,
yeah,
it really
we are in the desert of Nevada. Not everything looks as lush and green as my photo in the background, but right. It's hard for people to kind of grasp, the size and scope of that.
Yeah.
But it is a very labor intensive business, but like any business, it's a business, right?
Right.
So taking on truly that owner mindset has been, again, a transition and a challenge to kind of the point where I realize, okay, what is the opportunity cost of me working in the business, right? The whole E-Myth principle versus me working on the business and making strategic decisions and utilizing our assets. And so that's kind of where I think you've really helped us to see the opportunities that are there. Because it's a matter of not just the opportunity cost of the time, of what I can be doing, but also really a financial cost. So I really believe in the principle of stewardship and land stewardship. And I'm really passionate about regenerating land. but without a margin, like Stephen Covey says, there's no mission. So you have to be profitable, right? You have to be profitable as much as your good intentions are there. If there's not the means to be able to provide for your needs of your family, your employees, and build that mission, then, it's going to die on the vine. And so that's where I really had to step back and say, okay, yes, I believe that we can be profitable in agriculture, but we're managing an asset here, which is many times inflated beyond the ability for it to be able to return off of what it can produce on the land. There's probably a more eloquent way to say that, but so the land has the ability to produce so much, but right now land prices are super inflated. Even though we inherited the land, operating expenses have continued to go up. We do have some debt that we have to service, and so to expect that the cattle alone are going to pay for all that, I think it's pretty unrealistic in today's day and age. So what can we do to be able to leverage and be able to utilize the equity that we have to generate cash flowing opportunities? And so kind of back to what I learned years ago from Kiyosaki is like, oh, okay, now it's finally starting to click of what that means to like get out of the rat race and to be financially free.
That's a good point. I mean, I think your perspective from being a rancher is like, hey, listen, it's great. It's a great life, but you have to be constantly working the sweat of your brow all of your life. If you're, especially if you don't have these multiple streams of income coming in, and your particular situation is really interesting too, because it's not like every bank is saying, oh yeah, I give loans on ranches, right? It's not like the typical like, oh, I got equity in my house. This is like a very complex thing that you're having to go through over the years to get to the point where finally now you're like, all right, and now we can finally start cash flowing some of this land and start getting that into the six figures of passive income, which is huge.
So that's where I really appreciate that you've stretched us and helped us to see the opportunities that are there, right? Because we're so limited, but the real limitation is just in our thinking. I firmly believe that, right?
Yeah.
We're sitting on an asset, worth of however millions of dollars. And yet we're living where we had been living over the past decade, like we're broke.
Yeah.
Because we were broke mentally, right? We
like a broke millionaire. Yeah.
And so that kind of back to that, by the sweat of your brow, what does it mean? What does that scripture actually mean? What does that principle mean?
Yeah.
And I've kind of had to go through some reprogramming in this, the mental reprogramming of like, my value is not tied to the work that I do physically, right? It's not even tied to the work that I can do mentally. I have innate value because of who I am. And as I've come to accept who I am, it's like taking the pressure off of having to live up to not even my parents or grandparents' expectations, because I feel at peace with that. But it was like this false expectation that I put on myself of who I needed to be or what I needed to do, which was completely unreal and unreasonable. And so as I've been able to like accept and love myself and realize that I'm okay with all the mistakes that I've made. I mean, I dropped out of high school to go to college. I dropped out of college to come back and manage the ranch. And so I have I have no degree, but man, have I had an education. And it's been an expensive one. It's been an expensive education. So I've had to reprogram and realize that, yes, it's good to work hard. Physical labor is a good principle. But again, you're so limited, right? There's only so much physical labor you can do in a day with your strength. And so talk about leverage. That's what the real leverage is using your mental capacity and then tapping into the relationships of others who have strengths where you might be weak to be able to build a team. And I think that is really the only way we can build true wealth. I mean, the idea of the rugged individualist, I mean, those guys generally get eaten. They're the early adopters and pioneers. And it's the ones who collaborated, that tell stories. And so anyway, that's, I guess, another principle you've helped us to learn is like, I don't have to know it all. I don't have to figure it all out on my own. And if I do, I'm not going to live long enough to figure it out. Like tap into what other people know. So
exactly. Yeah. What do you feel like this, as we're talking about this, like the passive income, what does that do for your family? Like, what do you feel like gives your family to have that passive income coming in?
Um, Boy, it gives us a true sense of freedom,
Hmm.
like the whole freedom versus security idea.
Yeah.
A lot of people chase that security and it's very elusive. But when
Hmm.
you realize what freedom is, that's what it's done for me. And I think that's kind of what I've tapped into, especially over this last year is like, wow, you know, what if we could go on vacation and we had assets that were generating income and I didn't have to worry about the cows getting out on the highway or the irrigating or who's fixing the fence or whatever, those things are going to be working for us. And
Yeah.
so I think that's where the stewardship comes in of like, yes, you can steward the land, but a lot of those things can be delegated,
Hmm.
right? A lot. And I think it applies to whatever business it is, right?
Yeah.
That in the business work, a lot of that can be delegated to people who love to do it. There's people who
Yeah.
love to come and irrigate and build fence or work in businesses. And I think there's people who even love to sweep floors in warehouses. They're
Hmm.
grateful for that.
Yeah.
So let them do that. But if we're going to be entrepreneurs and owners, then we have to, do the things that really, only we can do. We're the ones that have the vision, right? And we
Yeah.
cannot have somebody else can't give us that vision. Somebody else
Mhm.
can't do that for us.
Yeah, I agree. It's that personal accountability, that stewardship that you have. And yeah, ultimately it does come down to you. That's the thing I love. That's the ownership mentality I always love to hear, because so many people will, want to rely on somebody else to give them, those things, like just give me the education or give me the answers and I'll just do whatever. Right. Like, and that's how people get hurt. That's how people get duped by the media, right? You get duped by
Yeah.
everybody because they're always trying to turn over everything to somebody else versus trying to work as a team, work with them, be interdependent versus just to be dependent upon somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, where I appreciate your idea of what a financial advisor truly is, right?
Yeah.
Like you've never told us just do this. You've
Mhm.
given us lots of options and you've explored, okay, what are your needs? What are your desires? What is the legacy that you want to leave for your family?
Right.
And here's some options. You do the due diligence, you take ownership. And so I think that's truly empowering, right? But not all people are, I mean, we haven't grown up to think that way, Chris,
Yeah.
right? We're told what to do in school, we're told what to do by our bosses.
Mhm.
And so it's a shift, but it leads to independence.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what America was founded on were these type of principles, right? Not being told what to
That's
do and
right.
everything. So
Amen to that. Yeah. Well, where do you see yourselves going as a family or for yourself in the future? Like, where do you see the vision for yourself?
you bet, great question. So we we truly want to create a legacy within agriculture.
Mhm.
So we realize that is a big part of what we're going to do is continue to steward the land. We're helping other young people to get involved in agriculture to be able to bridge that. Um, okay, I'll be right there. To be able to bridge that gap, and so maybe they can't go and buy a place,
Mhm.
but they can come and work on a place, and
Yeah.
learn the skills. Um, and so that's kind of the legacy that we want to leave. Not everybody has the blessing, opportunity, and challenge of inheriting a place like my wife and I did.
Mhm.
I'm very grateful for it, but yet, not everybody can do that. So,
Right.
um, so that the education piece is still a big part of it. We still continue to produce grass-fed beef. We're very passionate, Selena specifically, about producing and feeding families good, nourishing food, helping to be able to heal people with
Yeah.
food. Let food be thy medicine. And so I also am continuing to market my book, and I'm building a coaching program that kind of goes along with that book. And I'm specifically looking at working with men who have the entrepreneurial spirit, who
Mhm.
want to be able to build businesses and provide for their families
Yeah.
and, truly step up and be men, right? and get out of their parents' basements and do the things that God put them on this earth to do. And so that's where I really get excited about that. So it seems like a broad thing, but it kind of boils down to really faith in God, supporting the family, supporting freedom, building that personal integrity, and then regenerative agriculture, which seems like an outlier. But if you look at the founding era, agriculture was a big part of how America was founded. And I think that,
absolutely,
everybody's going to need to eat, right? And our current agriculture system is a whole nother topic, but our current agriculture system is not sustainable, right? There has to be a revolution whereby, and we've seen that in COVID, where supply chains break down and grocery store shelves go empty. And so if we can step back and I don't expect everybody to grow their own food, but if we can step back and realize that we're extremely productive in American agriculture, how can you buy from me and I exchange with you on a local level, right? Rather than depending on this big, hugely seemingly efficient, but very fragile system. And it's not just in, it's not just in food, it's in everything right now. So I think we're at a tipping point, and I want to be ahead of that curve and being able to help so that families don't suffer the consequences of, not having the food, not having the shelter and the basic needs of life. So
that's right.
Long answer to a short question, Chris, but
no, I mean, that's what I love. And I'll admit, I kind of geek out on your website when I go to rubymountainfoods.com, and look at the meat, because even we've noticed, my wife and I, our family, we eat organic, and we've started to grow our food. We have chickens now, and, we got our massive 1.2 acres compared to your 14,000, but still, I mean, we've even noticed, I mean, like food, even trying to find good, like food that's like the heritage type stuff is harder to find. And even meat, like we even noticed, like we do like Costco organic meat, right? Or grass-fed beef. And we've even noticed that there's like a decline in quality, even over the last few years. And the crazy thing is your beef is like the same price as Costco, right? Per pound. I mean, it's great. And so I keep telling my wife, like, let's rotate through all of our meats. So we make enough room for all of your guys' meat, that we can have in there and try it out. Because even trying like fresh chicken, like real true free range chicken is way different than even just organic chicken from the store. It's not the same,
Yeah. And that'd be a fun topic to talk about, because I think people need to understand what you've come to understand. Like there is a difference.
Huge.
Just because it has a label doesn't necessarily mean that it's nutrient dense or that it's quality or that it was even raised in the US. A lot of organic comes from different countries, but it has a USDA label. And so, there's a whole lot of education, and maybe that would be better left for my wife, Selena, because she's the one super passionate about it, but definitely plug into the website, Ruby Mountain Foods. You can follow Selena and me on our respective Facebook pages, and kind of just tap or check in and see what we're up to, because these are the topics that we are super passionate about. And I'm just grateful that we have, again, that ability to be able to live our missions, because we are working towards financial freedom. We're not there yet, right?
Right.
It's not like we can say, oh yeah, I've reached that, or my passive income is exceeded my needs and now I'm ready to retire. But we have a plan to be able to get there. And that's
a lot closer than you were.
that provides so much freedom. Just the ability to be able to think clearly and not worry about things and not stress about things. That's, man, that if I could tell your listeners anything, is just, get started. Wherever you are, you're in the perfect spot. Don't look back, just look and be okay with where you're at, and look forward a little bit, set some financial goals. Really work on that mindset, just like I had to do, of what it means to work hard, overcome the addictions and bad habits that you might have around money. And okay, I will be right there.
Cows are talking to you again.
And I think the other thing is just as I don't believe in saving money in the bank. I think that's stupid.
Yeah.
But I believe in the discipline of saving money,
Yeah.
of like taking 10%, the richest man in Babylon principle, and setting that aside. And so if it's in the bank where you're not even keeping up with inflation, I think the discipline principle overrides the return in that aspect. And so if you could start in one place, that would probably be it, is just say, okay, there's going to be 10%. I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to consider it. Even if you are paying tithing, that's not your 10%. This is about building that mindset and building that discipline. And then once you do that, then you can, it's just really freeing, because then you can start to see there's other options and opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. Wise words, Jared. Really appreciate that. So,
Oh, you bet. Well, I'm just maybe parroting back what you've taught me over the years.
amazing. Like, I can't imagine who's awesome. No, no, it's true. Like, I mean, really just taking that culmination of it. I mean, it's true. It's, I mean, there's so much within that stewardship and those principles you've learned to, manage your money, manage your stewardship. Right. And definitely, yeah, appreciate the fact that, like everybody, I mean, when we're talking about to Jared here, I mean, it's all about starting from wherever you are, right? Start from where you stand, start somewhere, start that journey, start that progression towards the right place. It doesn't matter how difficult it might seem, or if it seems like it's too far out of reach. The truth is that the only way to get it within reach is to start moving towards that goal and doing it the right way. So yeah, again, appreciate your time here today, Jared. You've been awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and thanks for what you're doing to teach true and correct principles to the world. And man, just keep doing it, because the world needs your message more than ever.
I will. Tom Brady might have retired, my twin, but I'm not retiring myself. So I'm still in there. But
all right, keep it
all
up.
right, man. Well, appreciate your time today. Really do. And everybody definitely check out rubymountainfoods.com. We'll put that in the show notes there. I mean, great stuff. Something that, again, if it weren't for money, health is definitely one of my most passionate things too. So we may have to have another show just talking about that topic alone. But in any case, guys, remember, it's always just about starting that first step, taking that journey, taking action now. Go and make it a wonderful and prosperous week. We'll see you later.
Visit us online at moneyripples.com for more resources to help you fix money leaks and get your money working harder for you now.